Good afternoon, everybody. Today you'll see that my co-partner is somebody quite different. I'll tell you the story. Manish Bhai's son has got a cough. That means maybe suspected of this coronavirus. So of course I told him not to come. Nishit Bhai has gone on holiday happily, and Vijay Bhai is going to Warwick to take his son there. So I had no choice but to try and call her my daughter Sita to come and become the co-partner in this particular session. Now let me tell you some background. You see, we're going to do a 1 hour session on Vivekanand, roughly 1 hour, and we'll take some questions if we can possibly answer them. And also at the end of it, we're going to do a 10-minute session on coronavirus because it is a serious issue, and I think I should mention certain things that perhaps the Hindu public should know. So let's get started, Sita.
Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody. So today's main subject is my dad's inspiration, which is Swami Vivekanand. So the first question I have is that, well, since I was born, I've been exposed to Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekanand. In fact, you actually put a picture of Ramakrishna in my cot and I chewed it up. So I was just...
Great. I put a little nice picture of Sri Ramakrishna, hoping that he will inspire the little girl, and she chewed him up. I said, that's why she has turned into a weird girl, but that's how things are.
The question that I wanted to ask is, what is the reason for your inspiration on these personalities?
You see, since birth, Sita, I'm telling you a secret. Since birth, I know that I'm not here just to eat, drink, and be merry, but to do something good for the greater world. I always felt like that, and somehow I felt the way I have to do it is through spiritual aspirations. Now, looking around, nobody attracted me. Any gurus who do the magic and miracle, they can't attract me. Anybody doing all this katha, they don't attract me. Anybody just doing philosophy and giving headaches, they don't attract me. So in my search, I found these two wonderful personalities called Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekanand, who inspired me. And that made me kind of feel that my life is now worthwhile. I can do something positive that I wanted to do anyway. That is why I've been very strongly attracted to these personalities, because the reason is one simple reason. They are talking about religion and spirituality from experience. No book learning, no make-believe, no colorful narratives, first-hand experience of spirit. When somebody talks like that, of course, if you're not attracted to that person, something is wrong with you. You're not ready for spiritual experience, spiritual progress.
So can you give us some background to Swami Vivekanand and his childhood?
Indeed, I will. You see, Swami Vivekanand appears like a very ordinary person, ordinary boy. Born in Calcutta in 1863, 14th of January, in a middle-class family, well-behaved, reasonably well-behaved, and he was brought up like ordinary Hindu children, kind of weaned on the Purans, colorful narratives and stories, and even the stories of Ramayana and the Mahabharata. That's what inspires most Hindu youngsters towards religion. And this young boy was attracted, and he loved this colorful storytelling, and he was absolutely focused on it. But he had a few interesting kind of characteristics. One was, he's extremely one-pointed. If he focuses on something, his mind is completely attached to that. He can't look anywhere else. This is a very powerful thing. Whenever you see a youngster who becomes very focused on any aspect, remember what I'm saying. This person is very highly advanced already. The second thing he had is tremendous compassion. If some beggars came to the door, he would just open the door. His little boy opened the door, and anything that he could find in his house, he would just give it away. Some furniture even. So this is the compassion. You see, one-pointedness and compassion. This love for humanity. These two are the magic features that was visible in his early days. But there was other features too. For example, he was extremely naughty. You heard about people being naughty, boys being naughty especially. This guy was weird in the sense that if he didn't get his way, stubborn. If he can't get his way, he will break the furniture. Now, I've not seen any boy doing that so far, but this guy was prepared to do that. He was really, so worked up about his particular ambition. He would break furniture just to say he must get his way. These are his traits at a young age. And then, of course, he would go and listen to the Kathakas, stories about Ramayana and Hanuman, and of course, all youngsters are attracted by Hanuman. This flying, hero. So he was attracted. One day, he asked the Kathakar, where can I find Hanuman? He says, a very naive little boy, where can I find Hanuman? The Kathakar said, what can I tell the little boy? He said, well, he lives under a banana tree. What can you say? And Vivekananda knew about a banana tree. He said, no problem, I'll find Hanuman, he's my best friend. So the little boy spent the evening under a banana tree waiting for Hanuman to return. No Hanuman appeared. Until a very late night, when he was really frustrated, the poor boy went back to his mommy. And the mommy opened the door. He said, where were you? And the boy burst out into tears. Oh, Hanuman didn't come, he said. Then mommy heard the story, and of course she consoled the little boy, saying, don't worry, Ram always keeps Hanuman very busy. So he must be busy, don't worry. One of these days you will meet him. Now you may think this is a very kind of interesting story, but in a way, this story tells us why this Vivekananda was attracted to Hanuman. Hanuman is the messenger of strength. Bala, look at Vivekananda's life. And nothing but the message of strength, empowering humanity, empowering the whole world. This is, if you like, the commonality between Hanuman and Vivekananda. This time, no tail. So this is the background.
I mean, it's amazing because any of these qualities, if you have any of those qualities, you're a very lucky person, and it can make you a very spiritual human being. How did he progress spiritually through his youth?
Yes, let's look at his youth. First, he loved all these religious ideas, religious stories, but in no time his rational faculty kicked in. He said something is wrong here. All this story is nice, but something is seriously wrong. It can't be real. And this kind of his challenging mind started to, in a way, challenge the idea of religion. And simple answer is this, simple, same as Richard Dawkins. He said, when I look at the world around me, there is so much suffering. At the moment, by the way, we are seeing the same issue with coronavirus. There is so much suffering. So how can possibly a good, kind-hearted God create a universe with so much suffering, not only in the human kingdom, in the living kingdom? Why, oh why? I mean, how can I possibly believe in an all-compassionate God, all-powerful God, when I see so much suffering all around me? This is what made Richard Dawkins give up Christianity and become an atheist. So our Vivekananda is on the same track. In no time, he started to explore all the philosophy of the West, studied all the major philosophers of the West, very sharp cookie, so he could easily understand the depth of their teachings. And he then decided that he's going to be an atheist. Because this idea of God is fairy tale, it's not real, it cannot be real. So Vivekananda then decided to become an atheist, and he's a very robust atheist, and a very vibrant atheist, and very vociferous atheist. So he would go and challenge people who are claiming to be spiritual regarding God. And he started challenging everybody, all the Kathakars, everybody. Nobody could give him a proper answer. He said, simple question. First, very, very gentle and very sophisticated. He said, sir, you are talking about God. Have you seen God? You can't be more blunt than that. I mean, in fact, I'm telling the Hindu audience, you have the courage to go and ask all your gurus and babas and everybody, have you seen God or just making it up? And you'll soon find out what is the depth of their understanding. So Vivekananda started testing that, and he found that nobody could answer. That made him even more sure there is no God. This is all nonsense. We just make believe. So he started becoming even more vociferous, and people got worried about him because they would try and hurt people who are religious. So this was going on, and then one day, you see, he asked a lot of people. In fact, he asked Devendranath Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore's father. He went one day, opened his study, went in and said, sir, you talk about God. Have you seen God? Now, Devendranath Tagore is a very famous personality in Calcutta, Rabindranath Tagore's father. Very powerful, very first, he's called Maharshi. So he asked, and Devendranath Tagore said, my boy, your eyes look like lotus flowers. Now, Vivekananda cannot be bought out by such kind of nonsense. So he walked away. He said he couldn't be bothered. So this guy was actually genuinely searching if spirituality is for real or make-believe. This is the same journey that every youngster, every Hindu youth must take. You must go through the process. Don't say, I believe because my father said so. Think for yourself. Does it make sense? If it doesn't, say, I'm not sure. Say, I'm not sure, or say, perhaps it's wrong. Be atheist even. This is the attitude you must develop. So he became atheist, crass atheist. Everybody was upset with him. And then one of his relations said, look, if you want an answer, if you send God, there is only one person who can give the answer, and that person is a priest in the Kali temple. Now, Vivekananda studied the Western philosophers. You're not going to go to a priest in a Kali temple to get the idea of the philosophical reason why the world is as it is. He couldn't be bothered. Bring this closer. So, one day then, one of his relations actually somehow managed to take him to Dakshineshwar temple, Kali temple. And there was this old man, not very old, but about 45-year-old man, sitting on a kind of little bed, wooden bed, and there were half a dozen youngsters sitting in front of him, cross-legged, and he was talking sweetly and nicely, and this person is Sri Ramakrishna. So, Vivekananda was called, by the way, Narendra at the time, decided to just listen to him. He listened to him, sounded very sensible, very gentle and very nice person, but that's all. So when Sri Ramakrishna stopped talking, this Narendra got up, took out his bow, put on the arrow from his quiver, the sharp arrow that he used to fire at everybody, and said, "Sir, you talk about God. Have you seen God?" Now you see, most Kathakars had just fell down. They didn't know how to answer that. They said, "We get a feeling," and all that nonsense. And here, Narendra or Vivekananda got the real shock of his life. The answer that came instantly. There's no delay thinking about how to answer this little boy. The answer came instantly, saying, "My boy, I can see God more clearly than I see you now." Now this is not a minor statement. Because if you're able to experience God, do you think that experience will be the same as me seeing you here and now? It cannot be. It must be much more intense. It can't be just all like I see you now. Because maybe I've got glasses and I can't see you properly. It's very minor. This experience is very intense. So when he said, "I can see God more clearly than you, my boy, you are fuzzy," straight away the intellect of Vivekananda said, "This is not nonsense. This guy cannot make up sentences like that. If it is possible to see God, then it will be much more intense experience than me seeing you now physically." So very quickly, Narendra got a shock. But then another shock he got is this. He told Narendra later on, "My boy, I can show her to you. If you ever find any individual who is established in God experience, for number one, be careful, 99% of the people you are kind of watching on TV have no God experience, zero. Absolutely crooked people. So once you find a person who has actually experienced God, the second thing is, can he give that to you? It may be good for him. He's jumping around. What about you? So the second important aspect is, can that experience be passed on to you? And here, see, Sri Ramakrishna scored his highest mark. He said, "I give that experience to you, my boy." Straight away, Narendra was knocked out. Here is a man who could not only respond to his serious philosophic challenge, even lift him up. He said, wait, he still wasn't comfortable. He thought maybe this man is a bit mad. So he liked to keep a little distance. Maybe he's doing hypnotism, he thought. He kept a little distance. But then one day, he went there where there was nobody there. And he sat on the bedstead, and then Ramakrishna came mumbling, and touched him. I wish somebody would touch me like that. The moment he was touched, this Narendra told in his own words, suddenly the temple garden, everything started whizzing and disappearing, including me. And I was screaming. I said, "Oh my God, Mommy and Daddy at home, what's happening to me?" And the moment I did this, Sri Ramakrishna smiled, touched me again, and the temple came back. And Ramakrishna was very simple, because this boy had asked a very direct question, "Can I see God?" He was going to give it to him straight away without any hesitation. Boom, he's like that. And then he said he's not ready. This boy is not ready. He's getting rattled. So he withdrew that experience. This is the lovely story of a ordinary Narendra being on colorful narrative, going through a very intellectual gymnastic period where he's kind of challenging religions, and then suddenly discovering the resolution to his issues by finding this wonderful person called Sri Ramakrishna. That is how the story continues.
And when did he become a monk?
You see, Narendra wasn't keen about becoming monk, etc. But then a situation arose. His master, Sri Ramakrishna, developed cancer and was about to die. Somehow he felt it was his duty to take on the task of putting Sri Ramakrishna's message in the world. Because Sri Ramakrishna lived in a little room in Dakshineshwar temple. He hardly went out. His message will not go in the world at all. You see, the world is looking for razzmatazz and all these sectarian movements. There's nothing here. So the message will remain lost, will be lost to the world. So he was worked up. He wanted to make sure his master's message, not his message, his master's message enters the world. So he had to roll up his sleeves, and this is, Sita, this is not an easy task. Suppose I told you I'm going to become a monk, how would you feel?
Oh, I'd feel devastated.
Okay. Now this boy had to go through that process. He had brother, sister, mother. His father had passed away. They didn't have much money either. He had to walk out of his family for the greater good. Now you see, it's a horrible, he's a cold-hearted man. How dare he do it? You see, you require a heart which is solid, as rock, at the same time very soft as a flower. He had to decide whether to look after a little family or for the greater good. And I'm fortunate, people like us are fortunate in decided to look for the greater good. So that what happened is when Ramakrishna passed away, there were about a dozen youngsters who were kind of wandering around him. There was no great following, there was no great sectarian movement, there was no great drum beating, nothing. So he somehow collected these youngsters and he had to pull them out of their houses. They wanted to go back to their homes. So forget Ramakrishna and everything. He had to literally knock on their doors and come out. And he managed to convince them to continue to become a part of the early monastic order of the Ramakrishna mission. And this is how the story continues.
And then I know in the story he spent a lot of time wandering around India. What did he acquire from this experience?
He was actually exasperated. He didn't know what to do. He's got spiritual experience, but when he sees the world outside him, he sees this tremendous suffering and problem. He doesn't know what to do. The poor boy doesn't know how he can carry on. So what he did was very simple. He said, let me explore the situation. Let me see my own nation. What is the condition of my nation? So he started a wandering monk, penniless wandering monk, going from here to there. Somebody would buy him a ticket for the train ticket. He would take it and go to the next stop. And somebody might look after him. Sometimes he'd be hungry. Sometimes he'd be eating with beggars. But he was well known because he was a very powerful speaker. So some of the kings used to invite him, to come and live in their palace. He would happily, he would go to a beggar or to a king, no problem. So he was wandering around India, observing the situation of his country, his nation. This is what his role was, to see what is going on. And he saw the degradation, the depth of degradation in the way the human beings were living. They were living like animals. He said, I can't see my people drinking from the gutter. You've been turned into brutes. He was very, very offended, very upset. What can he do? Penniless monk. So he wandered all over India feeling very worked up, really getting wound up, that's the right language. And then what happened is this. Finally he went to the southern tip of India, Kanyakumari, and there this young man, very vibrant, very strong, jumped into the water. Those waters are very difficult. The two oceans meet there and the waves are very high. I've been there twice. The waves are very high, and this shark-infested water. This boy could be bothered, young man could be bothered. He just jumped and went and swam. There's a little island further down. He went and sat on the island. Nothing, just island. Food, drink, who cares? And he then sat into meditation and thought about the glorious past of ancient India. One of the source of spirituality for the whole world. The mother of civilizations. Looked at the wonderful, colorful history of this lovely nation. And then looked at its present degradation. He was worked up. He was very upset by it, understandably, and he cried like a child. He cried, tears flow, because what can you do? This is the real story of a really lovely spiritual giant of modern India. And then he fell on a plan. He had heard there was going to be a parliament of religion in the West, in America. Now he's a very powerful speaker, very vibrant speaker. So he said, let me do the following. Look, this is it. He didn't go to promote Hinduism. He didn't go to promote Ramakrishna. The only reason why I said I'll go to USA is very simple. I'm going to sell my spirituality, literally as if like doing business, sell my spirituality and get some material help for them, for my people. If a few more people can be, are not hungry in my country because of I go and do this, it'll be worthwhile. He wasn't bothered about Ramakrishna, his mission, nothing. He was bothered about helping his people struggling in India. That's why he went to USA, not to show himself, show off how clever he is. So this is the background. So he decided to follow that plan. Ask me something else.
What was his impact in America and what did he do there?
I tell you a funny story first before. The way he went to America is very interesting. In Chennai, he has a few young disciples who loved his English and he's such a posh, clever, Swami. So they gathered around him. I think Ala Singha was one of them. And they said, Swami, you must go to USA because there's a parliament of religion, you must participate. People realize how important is Hinduism. You must go. And our Narendra is ready. He said, okay, let's go. So these youngsters went from house to house collecting a little bit of funds to buy him a ticket. Look at the story. Nowadays you get all these Maharajas, all these Swamis flying first class with 20, supporters, companions all over the world, happily. This man, nothing. This few people went and begged money for him to travel to New York, to USA, sorry. And then they collected enough money, and Hindus being as practical as we all know, they decided to buy him a ticket, and this was a one-way ticket. So if he fails, he can die there, who cares? He says, what about to say that? It's terrible, this is how they sent him off. And then they said, he's going to USA for parliament, let's buy him some clothes. Now he's going to a North American winter. What kind of clothes should we buy for him? See, lovely Chennai people, hot weather, okay, they bought him silk clothes. So this Swami was a naive fellow, no problem. He bought those silk clothes and jumped off, no problem, he jumped on the ship. I think the ship was called, whatever. So he jumped on the ship. Now interestingly, one of the passengers on the ship, it was very interesting, was Jamsetji Tata. And they had a little conversation, and Vivekananda said, you must do something for my nation, and must do some, kind of research project, etc. for my country. And Jamsetji was listening. Then after a few years, Jamsetji wrote a letter. Mr. Vivekananda, he said, I listened to your advice and I started the Tata Institute for Research. You see, just one meeting from a powerful personality will turn somebody's head to do something good for the greater world. This is a lovely story. So he went to, in fact, not New York, but he went to San Francisco. And from there, where did he go? What is it? Canada? What was the country? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he went to the western coast of USA, took a train, and went to, Chicago to do the talk. Then he went to Chicago. He went to the Parliament of Religion. He went to the office and said, I've come to represent Hinduism from India. And those guys on the front desk said, who are you? Have we sent you an invitation? He said, no. Have you got any credentials? He said, no. They said, get lost. Simply get lost. Americans, very rough. Go away. Get away. So Vivekananda said, what can I do in USA? There's no friend. There are no people waiting with garlands. Hello, Swami, come here. We take you to our home in our Rolls Royce. Nothing. What can he do? There's nothing. It's a cowboy country, 1893. So what can he do? He was struggling to survive. A little bit of money they had given him, he could use it to pay his hotel bills, but the money was running out. He didn't know where to go, what to do. He can't even go back, no return ticket. So he decided to go from Chicago to Boston because that was cheaper. So he was in the train, and there was an American lady sitting with him in the carriage, and he looked so marvelous, as you know. He looks highly magnanimous. And the lady was impressed. He says, Swami, you look like a Maharaja. Why don't you stay in my house? And I'll tell the neighbors I've got a Maharaja of India staying with me. He wanted to take advantage of the poor boy. The Swami said, no problem, you can call me what you like, I'll stay with you. This is the story began. And then this lady kept him you can see this, very loving lady. And fortunately, it's like divine providence. Next door to that lady lived Professor Wright of Harvard University. And they went into conversation with each other. And in the conversation, the professor said, my God, this man knows more than us. And he was very impressed. He said, Swami, why do you take part in the Parliament of Religion? The Parliament of Religion was for 10 major world religions to sit together. And in a way, it was the agenda by the Christians to in a way, rubber stamp the whole world that we are the best religion. That's the real reason for the Parliament of Religion. Nothing to be fair to other religions, simply to rubber stamp everybody, we are the number one. And here, Professor Wright found this man was very dynamic. He said, Swami, you must take part. He said, I don't have credentials. Professor Wright said, I'll give you a credential. I love this. It's a lovely story, you can see that. So Professor Wright wrote to the head of the Parliament of Religion saying, look, he was his friend. He said, look, here's a person who is more learned than all the professors of Harvard put together. If you don't let him talk in the Parliament of Religion, it will be a great injustice. And with that letter, Vivekananda said, okay, I've got some credential now. See, not from India. You see, this is called divine providence. So with that, he went back to Chicago. Then the first ever Parliament of Religion was held on the 11th of September in 1893. And there were other speakers who had come, very flowery speeches, all written up nicely and giving their own speeches regarding their religion. One by one, all the most religious speakers finished their talk, all flowery and very colorful and beautiful. And time came for Vivekananda to speak. And he said in his own, kind of memoirs that as soon as my turn came, my mouth dried up, my lips dried up. I had not prepared anything. So I just took the name of Mother Saraswati. You see, this is Hindu. Mother Saraswati, and said, let's go. And he started, and then he opened his mouth and said, sisters and brothers of America. 5 words. Sound like simple, okay, a bit colorful, rather than ladies and gentlemen say sisters and brothers. So what's the big deal? The big deal is this. As soon as he said it, the audience, which was about roughly 3,000 elite Americans, stood up and started applauding him. Without any reason, started applauding, won't stop. And people say, is it because he used such lovely material, sisters and brothers? No, my friend, I'm telling you the real answer. Here, for the first time, the American public saw a person who talked with the same authority as Christ. And they can recognize the voice is very special. The voice that made them stand up and start applauding, because they came across a person who was speaking about spirituality from first-hand authority, first-hand encounter, authority, and they could not let go. So they kept applauding until the organizers said, sit down, let him speak. The first ever speech he gave on 9/11 is so crucial for the rest of the world to know. They have just acknowledged it, but they have not actually embraced it. The speech simply said, we as Hindus recognize there are many different pathways for making spiritual progress. Just as different rivers from the mountain come to the same sea using different pathways, different religions use different pathways to reach the same destination. No other religion would say stuff like, nobody. He brought this out, and this is called pluralism. Many ways to be spiritual. You can be atheistic, non-theistic, whatever. You can be spiritual in many different guises, and they are all equally valid. This is frightening people. Some people say, these are horrible people. How can they be spiritual? They are all valid in their own way. So this is the lovely thing. And he said to impose one religion on another or try and convert people is really going against the teaching of pluralism. Allow people to progress in the mode that suits their own temperament. Do not push your mode onto them. This one speech of 10-minute speech, you can look it up in the Google, hit the American public big, hard. Next day, almost every newspaper in USA said, lion amongst men. This is, how dare we go and teach religion to these people? How dare we go and try and convert these people? We have to sit at their feet and learn from them. So straightway, this one speech made him world famous. And even India found out. And then they said, oh yes, our son of Mother India. Until now they had not ignored him completely. He had not given a single public speech in India up to now. Now India said, oh, son of Mother India, fair enough. So this man became very famous overnight. And then once he had that power, he used it to kind of promote the deeper vision of Hinduism, of spirituality for the Western world. Why Western world? Somebody asked me, why didn't he go to Africa? He'll be sitting in a little hut there and they'll be finished. He'll be finished. He'll very likely get some disease and die. He had to go to the center hub of where there's activity, there's innovation, and then plant those ideas there. So that is his purpose. His purpose was to make sure that these ideas enter the Western society. Why Western society? Because India was going through a very difficult period. It's the Western world which is much more refreshed and ready for spiritual experience of spirituality. So he was going to plant this idea, the seeds of spirituality in the Western world. And it was not an easy job. Let me tell you, many a times he'll be kicked out of the hotel saying, you are a black man, go away. There was apartheid, very clear. He would not make a single comment and go to another hotel. He wouldn't criticize them in his lectures. He did not make any sour comment about anybody. Marvelous personality. He's here for simple purpose of planting seeds, not getting involved with any other nonsense. So that's what he kept doing. For about 4 years, he went all over USA in horse and carriage, running from one town to another town, giving lectures. And there was a lecture authority that was giving him some money for giving lectures. He was keeping that money to pay his hotel bills and saving some money for later purpose. So he was not begging for money. He didn't go to beg. He was actually lecturing to get his money, and that money he was using to pay his bills. See what a marvelous individual. And he had some good experience and some bad experience. I'll tell you about one good experience and one bad experience. One good experience was, he was in a rich man's house, in his study, writing something, and the door flung open, and you heard about the name Rutherford. No, what's the road? Rothschild, what's it?
Rothschild.
Rothschild, I keep mixing them up. So this gentleman walked in and said, "Don't you know who I am? I am one of the richest men in USA. Why don't you look up at me?" And so without looking up at him, he says, "Exactly who you are, I know, and why you come here. So I'm fully aware why you are here and what is your background, even your past life I know. You are supposed to be a custodian of money, not somebody who is supposed to hold money. So my warning to you is make sure that you use the money for greater good, greater benefit. So please, kindly, spend your money for betterment of others." And Rothschild was very upset. How dare somebody tell him what to do with his money? He shut the door loudly and then went away. After a few days, he again opened the door, and he said, and threw some papers at Swami Vivekananda on his desk. He said, "Look at it. I've made now an endowment to spend so much money for the betterment of others. Aren't you happy? Shouldn't you say thank you to me?" Never asked Vivekananda to say thank you. Without looking up, look at the mastery of this. He's not bothered about a rich man. Without looking up, he said, "Why should I thank you? You should thank me." This is the mastery. Spirituality doesn't bow down to money. Money is to bow down to spirituality. This is, if you like, the background. So I said, I won't mention only some of the bad experiences he had. Bad experience was basically, because he was becoming so famous in USA, the Christian lobby got really wound up. Because one of the greatest problems Christianity is their exclusivity. The price is the only way. And suddenly this guy is saying many ways. And they can't tolerate him, and people love him. So they had to in a way try and undermine him. They did all sorts of tricks. They put in articles in the newspaper that this Vivekananda to touch their maid or something. Such nonsense was going on all the time. And he just sailed through. He didn't reply. This is the way to, in a way, respond to a serious challenge. Like, he didn't reply. He said nonsense. So this is how he had to face a lot of problems. He never made any complaints. There's one American lady called Mary Louise Burke who actually did research on Vivekananda, exactly where he stayed, which hotel, what happened to him. And when I started reading that book, I started to cry. I'm not joking. Because I said, this marvelous man was given such mistreatment in America, and yet he carried on with his work. The reason why I can talk like this is because those lectures that he had given, there was one Englishman who was quite, happy with Swami Vivekananda, and he said, "Okay, I'll definitely come and do, stenographic recording of your talks." Vivekananda said, "Fine," and he would pay him. He was being paid a small amount of money, and then, after listening to Vivekananda once or twice, the man said, "I can't take money from you. Just make sure I stay with you all your life." This is the real story. So this is why I know what Vivekananda said. This was recorded, and that recorded material, it's not electronic, it's just physical physical writing, that turned into the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. He never wrote a book, but all the lectures he gave have been well looked up, well kind of presented in complete works of Vivekananda. And all the source that I have of Hinduism, source of my knowledge of Hinduism, is straight from this particular material. Now we'll have a little break here while Sita changes over, and I've got Vijay Pahirani stepping in. Sita is doing fine. Give a moment. Sorry about this, but we have all these interesting things. Today, they said two of my other counterparts have disappeared. One has gone to Cyprus, another is not well because of his son. Okay, this is Vijay Pahirani. He is one of our greatest supporters of the work that Hindu Academy does. Yeah. You want to stay, otherwise your face gets cut off.
No, okay. Oh, I can see it there. So.
All three.
Sure, okay. Yeah, so we have one other question here, is saying that you keep on saying that there is no one else in the modern world you can put him in the same place as Vivekananda. Why do you say that?
It's quite arrogant. I'm very arrogant. You see, I actually mean that it is impossible to find an individual. There are a lot of very, very kind of nice, lovely personalities in the world today. Lovely for the last few hundred years. Lovely saintly personalities are visible in the world throughout, in every culture. And yet I'm such an arrogant person, I say I can't find anybody I can put him on the same platform as Vivekananda. And some Hindus get worked up because they've got their own, gurus and say he's equally good, he's got this and that guru and this Baba, whatever. I say, could be bothered one bit. You see, the depth of his understanding of Hinduism is so grand. Sometimes I just take one sentence from his lecture and turn it into half an hour lecture and knock the heck out of any theological college. That's the strength, that's the depth. And if you like the intensity of his material, So the material left is very concentrated. That's why I say I can't find anybody, nowhere even who can even come up to 1% of what Vivekananda is all about. I'll give you one story, Vijay Bhai. There was a person very famous, he's passed away now, but he started a movement. I won't mention the name of the movement. And I used to invite people in my house and come and stay with me, and I was happy to entertain them and even arrange their talks in the temples. So this person came to my house and he saw an image of Swami Vivekananda. He said, okay, this young man, lovely man, very rich man, he's very attracted to Vivekananda. I have to make sure that he begins to become my follower. So after looking at everything, he said, Dilip Bhai, Vivekananda could not finish his work. He died at a very early age. You see, that's meaning, he passed away at the age of 39. Meaning to say, Vivekananda was a lovely man, but he's passed away too early. But I am here, I'm the new Vivekananda. Touch my feet, sit at my feet. That's what his intention was. But I'm very naughty and very good at rhetoric. So my response was very simple. I said, the only person who can judge what Vivekananda has achieved has to be another Vivekananda. Of course, that shut him up completely, and of course my relationship with him disappeared. Because I said, look, you are no Vivekananda, so stop trying to judge Vivekananda. In fact, I'm telling you now, anybody trying to judge Vivekananda has to be of the equal caliber. It's so high, difficult to judge how high it is. That is the reason why I say I can't put anybody. I love a lot of these lovely personalities that we see in the world. At the moment, most of the market is kind of infested with really wrong people. But there are lovely personalities that we have in our tradition.
That's all good and true, really, but it's true. I mean, I agree with you, but you still find some people still, even today, criticizing him. Why is that? Yeah?
That's very good. You should ask. Look, the reason is this. First of all, who are the first people to criticize? The Christians, because he really made a big kind of blowed away their objective was to have this parliament religion to show Christianity is the most superior religion in the world. Full stop is number one, and Christ is the only way. The only rubber stamp. Because the rest of the world is like they're kind of colonies. They can do stuff like that. This is what they were prepared to do in this parliament of religion. And suddenly from nowhere comes this individual and starts saying stuff like pluralism. And they were really knocked out and said they can't tolerate it. So they were very keen to undermine him. So they used all kind of ploys to try and undermine him. Even today, look, if I mention Vivekananda on BBC, they push me on the sideline. Even now they can't tolerate. Because it's such a powerful message, such a vibrant message, that in a way it will upset the Christian lobby. It may even demolish the Christian lobby. So that's number one. Then we had some other Hindus, I must touch them, who are critical of Vivekananda, and they send me messages, oh, what about this, what about this? And I tell them the answer. The biggest one, they say, Vivekananda used to eat meat in USA. Horrible man, how dare he eat meat in 1890s in USA? And Vivekananda was, one of his Guru Bhais wrote to him saying they are criticizing about this. And he wrote back, I like the word, I don't want to use any of my words, I'll use his words. He said, look, tell these Hindus that if they want to make sure I'm vegetarian, they should send me a vegetarian cook and vegetables from India, so that wherever I'm traveling in my horse and carriage, I can take it with me and happily eat vegetables. I'm vegetarian. Ask them to do that. See, you must look at the practicality of the situation. Here is a man, horse and cart, going from one town, nobody to receive him, nothing, being thrown out of the hotel. So he goes in a restaurant and they plonk a lump of meat in front of him. He's going to eat, he's going to survive and carry on his work of planting spirituality. And he used to say, I put a lot of Tabasco sauce and swallow it. So I said, good for you. It's good that you did, otherwise I wouldn't know about Hinduism. So you see, when they make this kind of other people who criticize them, Vijay Bhai, it's very sad. There are some Hindu movements who are so exclusivist as well, just forget about Christians, who cannot allow Vivekananda to gain ground. If you go into their temple, you will see the image of Christ, but you won't see Vivekananda anywhere. And they are so anti-Vivekananda, they say, oh, he's eating meat, oh, he's doing this, try and undermine him. But the reason is this, because their own kind of very exclusivist agenda will be demolished immediately. That is why they keep criticizing. When they find some little flaws here and there, look, you can always find some little, you see, there's a little mark here, I can find some flaws. That's what they try and do, to try and undermine him. What a foolish thing to try and do. Yeah. Can you give me a moment?
Yeah.
Can we have a 1 minute break? I need to change the tape.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah. Give us 1 minute and we'll...
Just carry on, don't touch it. sorry about that. All my technical people are away, so I have to do this.
Yeah. I think we also have some other questions regarding some of the beliefs of Vivekananda. One of them is that you also agree with Swami Vivekananda that Ramakrishna Paramahansa was actually an avatar, Varishta, yes? Isn't that around because comparing with Ram and Krishna now, yes? Which are the most popular deities?
Most Hindus can't swallow this. I don't blame them. And I think Vivekananda was aware that this is going to be tricky. But the thing is, the reason why did he use such language? Because he doesn't like to exaggerate. He's a very honest, straightforward person. So why did he use things like Varishtai, Avatara Varishtai? What's going on? Look, examine, explore the story of Sri Ram, Sri Krishna. I love them both. Most Hindus love them. You see, what they did was, in a way, address the issue of India in that particular period, say 5,000, 4,000 years ago. They addressed the issues of India, how India can be well kind of joined up, etc. Both of them wonderful personalities, very grand personalities. But look at their message. It's suited to the Indian public, basically. Even though it has got some universal features, but it's still very limited to the Indian subcontinent. Here is a person we see, Ramakrishna, who comes with such dynamism that I tell you why. There is nobody that we have seen in the history of Hinduism who has been able to reconcile the various strands of Hinduism. They're scattered. And when any system is scattered, it doesn't work. It becomes disjointed and counterproductive. So Hinduism was scattered. And Ninian Smart, one of the professors, said, with Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, we see the first time a reconciliation of different strands of Hinduism. This idea of Shaivism and Shaktism, all these were reconciled in the story of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda. The first person when Hinduism joined up was Ramakrishna, number one. See, this had not happened with anybody else. We had a lot of interesting personalities, and yet they had, in a way, kind of just consolidated one particular portion of Hinduism, but never reconciled the various ideas of God as your essential nature, idea of God as a personality, all this reconciling one life, number one. In fact, another person said very nicely, said, Mr. Lakhani, the comprehensive nature of experience of Sri Ramakrishna is far superior than any human being in the history of humanity. And when I heard that, I said, this very, very intelligent, ethical person in the UK, I was very surprised. But that is correct. It's very comprehensive, to the extent that it was prepared to try and experiment with Christianity and Islam. See the reconciliation, not just within Hindu tradition. That's why the previous avatars may have done good reconciliation within the Hindu tradition. Here is a person bringing a real reconciliation in the world religions. Nobody else has done anything like this. So immediately I said, this is true. And the resolution of the world today, for example, all the fighting in the name of religion that's happening, will only stop, I'm warning you, will only stop when the rest of the world, the rest of the religions recognize the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. Many ways to be spiritual. Each are equally good in their own way. Don't interfere in the pathway of others. And this wonderful material is only visible with one avatar, Sri Ramakrishna. That's why Vivekananda used this language. I say absolutely right. And you see, this is not become visible now, but in days to come, this picture of Ramakrishna will be worshipped in every home in the world. I'm not joking. It's going to be that powerful. So that's why it's called Avatara Varishtai.
I think, just to continue that particular point, I think after the passing of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, you see that Vivekananda and his first disciples started a lot of work in his name. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Indeed. You see, the one thing was, of course, pluralism that Swami Vivekananda promoted. The other thing was this. You see, we noticed that, for example, this kind of focus on God in the heaven is in a way taking away our own empowerment. Human beings feel a little bit kind of under the power of God, saying, okay, if any problem comes, I just beg to God and sort me out, and God sorts everything out. So human beings have become less empowered because of the belief in God. Can you believe that? Because you are kind of focusing on God in the heaven to sort you out, and that is wrong. And this transition was visible with Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, saying it's one thing to think of God as the ultimate reality, but to see God in humanity, the thing that's kind of lighting up all of humanity is nothing but ultimate reality. Same ultimate reality appearing in a very limited way through this particular body and mind. So in a way, refocusing attention on humanity and empowering humanity is something that's not visible anywhere. So again, this is a very powerful thought. Of course, many modern prophets promote ideas of looking after humanity, but here it's come different. He says there is actually God there. He says it's not God, it's just somebody struggling and I'm helping and doing charity. No! There's God in front of you, real God. So no, this vision comes only with Ramakrishna Vivekananda. And the thing is, what can Vivekananda do? The little bit of money he had collected in USA, after giving his lecture tour, that money, after paying his hotel bills, whatever, he just gave it to his brother disciple, saying, now, here is this money, they are donated to you, use it for the betterment of Ramakrishna Order. And this is how Ramakrishna Order started. And it was the idea of philanthropic work, spiritual progress as well as philanthropic work, combined together, not separate, or you go in the mountain and become an ascetic, no. Work for society, greater society, in the process become spiritual. That is why the Ramakrishna movement started. What a wonderful idea. And even today I can say in Vijaybai, two things that I don't see in the Ramakrishna movement are as follows. Kam, Kamini and Kanchan. You don't see the idea of women getting in a sex and getting involved, somehow getting incorporated, or money. Suppose I give money, say through Ramakrishna Missions, £1,000, and say, give it to the fishermen who lost their nets. All the £1,000 will go there. Not a single pound will go to any Swami or for administration. There are some other movements doing the same. The administration cost is very low. But here, you see, they have made sure that whatever money is donated is spent for the purpose for which it has been given, full stop. So that's why I feel very comfortable to donate there, because this is safe, it will go to the right place. So this is what Ramakrishna Mission is all about, and I like it for that purpose. Now all the Swamis were devoted, and they are no Vivekanandas, by the way, but they put their whole life as devotion to these particular ideals.
Just regarding that, this is my personal question on that. Because I've seen there's hundreds of Ramakrishna Mission schools, and they don't discriminate, because I know in Bengal, most of the students are actually Muslim kids who go there. Yet they're not as popular as Mother Teresa's. Why is that? Because if you ask them overseas, they know about Mother Teresa's work. Ramakrishna Mission I think is much more bigger, but still you don't see...
Don't mention, especially in the Western media, don't be mentioned. I'll give you one example, a very cutting example. Somebody from BBC asked me, I want to go and interview the head teacher of Sister Nivedita School in Calcutta, the first girls' school in India, Sister Nivedita School. So I want to go and interview the headmistress. But they won't let us in because BBC has a bad reputation. So I used my little kind of influence and said, look, I'll open the doors for you. So I opened the doors, and they went and they did some little bit of radio recording. And they said, okay, the particular recording is going to be on the radio for on this day. So I said, that's good, let me watch. I'm so happy Vivekananda mentioned in the Western world. And you know how they title the Sisters of Kali? They're calling Nivedita Sister of Kali because they link with Hinduism. So means it's a terrorist. And Mother Teresa, saint. See, it's such a bias, BBC bias. Anything in the name of Christianity, empower it. Anything in the name of Hinduism, undermine it. Show some Hinduism in a weird manner. So the story is still going on, by the way. But this is how this is my first experience of how Ramakrishna Mission was put down, or in a way not given enough kind of credit that it deserves.
Okay. One more thing, Vivekananda became very popular in the United States, and I think the Parliament religions actually did that. So what did he actually say? Was it just his charisma? What actually made him that popular?
Vijaybai, very simple. If you are enlightened, Vijaybai,
yeah,
my hair will be standing on end by now. So when you see a person who's already enlightened, his voice, his power, you don't have to kind of wear this kind of special headgear, etc. The charisma of the personality, the moment he opens his mouth, this is spirit speaking, spirit taking on a body and speaking to you. So when that happens, then anybody gets rattled. So this is what used to happen to him. In fact, the people sitting in the front row of the audience, with many times would go into deep samadhi, not exaggerate, and the tears of joy will flow from the eyes. They don't know what happened to them. Just by being near him was enough to knock them out. This is the power of Vivekananda.
Okay, this is again my question now. In the Parliament religions, the second conference they had, second day conference, was a debate on the idea of the Atman. And I know that there was a very heated argument, I was told, between the Abrahamic and Indic faith. And the Abrahamic faith could not accept that the soul cannot be created. It was very blasphemous. How can not God create the soul? Whereas in Christian Abrahamic, but in Indic faith, He doesn't create. Don't you think that in a way they got a point in Christianity? If God is also, if He's your creator, why doesn't He create your soul?
No idea. You have to ask the Christian. As far as I am concerned, there are few issues that come out of Indic tradition, not Hinduism, Indic tradition, which are very, very kind of in a way hurtful to the Abrahamic tradition. Very hurtful. One is reincarnation. They don't have it, they're in mess. Then for little thing you do wrong, infinite damnation. So that's one. And reincarnation is a much more superior thing. Most of the kind of major philosophers said, if you want to believe in life after death, the best answer comes from Hinduism and reincarnation. The other one is, of course, the idea about our essential nature as being same as God. Nobody else would do that. It's like blasphemy. But we are saying, no, our essential nature, even though the external part is really weird, internal, the real stuff that's popping out here is God. Here, God. You are essential. See, nobody can come. Like Abraham tradition says, you are sinners. We say, you are not sinners, you are God. Now you can see the vast variation. Of course, this is again another issue where the Western world embrace Hindu Indic ideas. They have no choice. This idea of you are a sinner from birth just because somebody ate an apple or something, this doesn't sound right. Just can't. This modern thinking is not going to relate to this anymore, and they have stopped relating to it anyway.
Okay, another question. Again, there's a lot of questions. Swami
Please
Vivekananda.
ask as many as you like.
One question is that, do you believe that Swami Vivekananda had any powers? If he did, why didn't he use them for betterment? Yes.
You see, one of the things that's visible in Swami Vivekananda's life is this. He dislikes the idea of magic and miracles. He dislikes it, even making forecasts regarding what happened. He normally doesn't get involved in that. The reason is this. He said any activity you do, same as Buddha has the same issue. Any activity you do which talks about magic and miracle, which asks you to, in a way, suspend your rational faculties, ignore it. So if he started doing that, then people start believing in this kind of magic and miracle and and so on, and then they would in a way lose track of the real progress, spiritual progress. So he would put vast it aside. In fact, his master was equally bad. Ramakrishna, used to go into deep meditation all the time, topple over and fall down. And once he broke his arm, so he put it in a sling. And he's walking around, and one of the little youngsters came to talk to him. He said, "Oh, see, this is good." Why is it good? The youngster said, "Why is it good? You're in a sling." He said, "The reason is this. When ordinary people come to visit me, they look at me and say, 'Look at this old man. He's supposed to be a spiritual man. He can't even cure himself. How will he look after our interests, our issues?' So they'll walk away." He said, "Better, I'd like to get rid of this. The only people I want to attract are those who want spiritual progress. If anybody wants some health or wealth or family issues, please go away. Go to some other saint." This is the reason why. The same with Vivekananda. He was very keen to make sure rationality wins the day. If something is not rational, doesn't agree with your common sense, reject it, spit it out, says Vivekananda. I would say the same. If anything I say doesn't agree with you, spit it out. Why you want to swallow it and get in a mess?
Yeah. Something else you'll see today happening a lot is that in India there's a big push with Christianity to get everybody into Christian mode. And I'll give you an example. You see there's so many different variations of Hindus. You have only women-only temples. Some temples don't allow for celibacy. All kinds of variations. It seems they're trying to make it conformist and get a Christian movement. Why do you think that's the case?
You see, as we are a pluralistic tradition, we allow a lot of variation. Some will say, women not allowed. Some will say celibacy essential. So be it. This is our way. We use many variety of different ways to be spiritual. But the thing is, this is seen as a weakness by the Christian lobby because they are all kind of straightforward, single, one God, say one book. We'll wave it in your face. It's all written up, it's all sorted out. You don't need to worry anything. Just eat, drink, burp, and die, and you'll go to God. Don't worry. Now this is as a person with common sense. This doesn't make sense whatsoever. So they are in a way trying to find some little holes in Hinduism to try and destroy it or damage it or steal our flock. They're doing it. And people like me are in a way firing back in no uncertain terms, saying, "How dare you? In fact, you better." You see, we normally don't ask people to convert to us, but our ideas are going to convert them. They don't rubber stamp them as a Hindu. The ideas that we possess will become their ideas. Look at UK now. This is the most egalitarian society I've seen in the world, in the history of humanity. They go out of their way to look after the disabled, the less able, or whatever. They go out of their way. This is called spiritual humanism, seeing God in humanity, serving humanity, making sure humanity's dignity is not compromised. When I see that, I say, what we are preaching, these guys are already doing, but without the name of Vivekananda, so be it. I don't think he's bothered either. So it is already, some of the ideas that we already possess are being adopted by the West, like the ideas of reincarnation or yoga are becoming much more visible here in the West. The thing is, the Western society has matured through the phase of being highly materialistic. They've already matured. They've grown out of it. They're getting fed up with all this running around. So the Western world is much more ready for embracing spiritual ideas than our India. Swami Vivekananda had predicted that India will go through a phase of materialism because they have not had it. They've been very poor for the last 100, 200 years. So they'll go through a phase of highly materialistic living, Then they'll grow out of it and become highly mature spiritual people.
Okay. Question on a different topic now. We in the Hindu tradition, celibacy is very valued, but yet we say that it's something in practice. It's very difficult. So how one of the viewers have asked a question, which was trying really hard, trying to keep her busy. How do you suppress your thoughts and keep your mental strength in order so you can practice celibacy?
Look, this is a question that will bother all serious spiritual aspirants. Because this thing, we must possess a body, and the body and the mind have got a particular momentum of its own. And it has collected this momentum over many lifetimes. Imagine that we have gone through animal life, and enter the human life, and throughout that we are kind of attracted to other gender. It's ingrained in us. We can't help it. So in the animal kingdom, we have one animal attracted to other animal. Once we go to the human kingdom, again the same issue. And it's been reinforced in every life. We reinforce it. It doesn't just slow down and say, okay, I had enough of all this gender attraction stuff and I don't need it. It gets more reinforced with every life. So it gets more and more difficult to control. That's why in the modern world, one of the biggest problems is gender attraction. It's gone so wild. They say, okay, you can have sex with a girl or a boy, or sometimes with a boy, sometimes with a girl, sometimes with, all these things are happening, weird things, because the sex has got out of control. It's been wound up so much, it's finding expression in a weird way. So this is the world that we live in, and for a spiritual aspirant, this is the biggest problem. There is and people say, why are you so so anti-sex? The answer is this: the greatest physical pleasure anybody can get is through the act of sex. Now this is a really dangerous thing, because then you are fixated on it. It's the greatest physical pleasure you get. But the negative side is this: it makes you feel you are the body. You are shuddering and all that. So you think you are the body. That links you with your body, pulls you down to the ground level, saying you are nothing but a piece of meat. It reduces your dignity to just being a lump of meat that starts shuddering. So in a way, it destroys your dignity as a spiritual being. That's why it goes against the teaching of spirituality. We are never against sex. Be careful. We say the force that is driving the universe is expressing itself through sex, because otherwise the life force will not carry on. The life will finish. So it's an essential thing is ingrained in creation, and yet it has to be kept in check, otherwise it will destroy you. Instead of making you spiritual, it will make you highly animalistic. So it is not an easy path for every individual, is what is there. But do you know what I say? I say every great spiritual master has gone through this kind of stage. They sometimes, you hear Vishwamitra getting, kind of caught up by Menka. Oh, this has been going on forever. So this is, if you like, the weakness that human beings have. In fact, all the politicians now, we see almost all of them are gone. So this is the inbuilt strong weakness in every human being. But if you want to be spiritual aspirant, you have to say, I have to fight against it. It's not easy. It is very difficult. Best thing is to say, look, this is what I say to myself. This is very secret. Suppose I'm passing by a butcher shop. There's a lump of meat, a cow, hanging without the skin, and there's just a lump of meat hanging there. And I say, okay, would I feel attracted to that? And push me off. I can't think. In the same way, when you look at any beautiful women and say, this is a lump of meat, I'm telling you, don't try and skin her or something. Simply, you'll feel that, my God, what am I attracted to? Just lump of meat, And this is the way I control myself. But it's not easy. It is a constant struggle.
Yeah. Okay. Just one last question now. What are your thoughts on divorce? So traditionally in Hinduism, there is no idea of divorce because it's a spiritual bond. But the reality is something else. So what is your thought on that?
Indeed. You see, we have to recognize our tradition has been always evolving with the times. The way society moves, our tradition is allowed to evolve. It's not fixed, it's written in the book, you can't argue. We continue to evolve. This is our specialty, we are a living religion. So even the social codes that we adopt, whether it's marriage or divorce, etc., are open for evolution. They are not fixated. So in ancient times, the idea was this, that one man, one woman, married for life and maybe for 7 lives, whichever, you never know. So you are stuck. So the way they could make sure the women's security, the children's security is maintained is to make sure that this bond is permanent. They can't say divorce. This is how they introduce it, because then suddenly somebody decides to separate. What will happen to the children? And the poor wife may be destitute completely, no money, nothing. So in a way to make sure this bond is strong, they made it completely permanent. Not only for one life, for many lives. So it was purely a ploy to make sure that the family unit stays together. Simple as that. Society has moved on. Nowadays there are people, the women are earning more money than men. They are doing much more harder work than the men. The men are looking at the babies. So how can you say the same rule applies? So the rule now has changed, and you must adopt the rules that greater societies have comfortable with. So you might say, okay, it doesn't work, things are really bad, we need to separate, so be it. But at the same time, do not just throw out everything from in Hinduism, saying this is ancient and old-fashioned, throw it all out. I'm not saying that. Simply saying be watchful.
Okay. Is it enough? I think.
Okay, Vijay, I'm going to harness you for something else.
Yes.
Jaishankar said, Mr. Lakhani, today, a lot of Hindus are very confused about the coronavirus.
Yes.
Please do something about it, say something about it. Ask me a few questions and I'll respond.
Yeah, so one thing is I think there's a lot of paranoia about it, yes. As you know, some of the shops, the shelves are empty because I don't know why people are doing that, but can you give some guidelines on why, the spiritual angle on how people should actually react to such a situation?
Yeah.
Really be good, yes.
Good. I'll give you a spiritual angle to start with, and a practical angle as well.
Yes.
The spiritual angle is this. There are people, gurus in India saying, now God is taking revenge on us because we are not looking at the environment. God is taking revenge. See, don't get caught up with this. These gurus, tell the gurus, you are the issue problem. Not the coronavirus, you are the real issue. They're trying to find excuse, some kind of fault on because we have misbehaved. God is saying all the signals. Nothing of the sort. Human beings, look, you are the spark of God. You are spirit. So whenever such calamities come, we have the power to fight it and rise above it. This is the sign of the spirit. It is not being pushed about by nature. It is able to harness nature for its betterment. This is the sign of humanity, spirit. So if somebody gives you the stupid ideas, that the other thing which I hear, which really worries me about the Indian gurus and the babas and all that, they say if you drink garlic juice, heat it up in the morning and ginger and garlic will solve no coronavirus. Now don't get caught by this nonsense. You see, we have tremendous love for Ayurveda. We love garlic and ginger. They are definitely beneficial, but on a long-term basis. If you got coronavirus tomorrow, if you start drinking garlic, nothing. You are not going to get rid of coronavirus. Yeah. Or if you are taking garlic, you will lose all your friends. So don't get caught up with this nonsense that are promoted by some of these gurus in India. Some of these gurus, they call themselves scientific, and they use the titles that are not been invented even. Because before you hear about Mandaleshwar and all that, these are new ones, they're scientific. And when I listen to them, they say, oh, there is negative energy, you must get rid of. I'm a physicist, I won't come across any negative energy in my life. There is no negative energy, ever. This energy is energy. So when I hear stuff like this, I say, what? These idiots will actually fail primary examination in science. And they go around as guru, science, linked with science. What science? They have no clue what you're talking about. So please, Hindu people, please be watchful against such nasty people, because it's one thing for them to promote themselves, but in the process they might do damage to your family and your health. So be aware. And another thing you mentioned, you see, this is usual human panic. When you go to the supermarkets, the shelves are empty. And the greatest fun part is this, the toilet rolls are gone. There are millions of toilet rolls, they all disappear. So people, and they're all bundling, taking toilet rolls. So how does coronavirus affect your toilet situation? It doesn't make you give you diarrhea. So what the heck are you doing with the toilet rolls? So this is pure panic, wild panic that we see in this world. And this is where we sort of smile and so. But I must say a few practical things. Yeah. You see, first of all, don't get caught up by this Ayurvedic medicine. They'll sort you out. It will not sort you out, I'm telling you. So be watchful. The Western world, the Western, allopathic medicine is very clever. They're managed to fight lots of other viruses, and they will fight this one as well. They'll find an antidote to it or vaccination. Just wait for it. But to wait for it means takes time. It may take 1 year. So how do you survive? And don't get too frightened. At the same time, don't be too laissez-faire. I don't care. Nothing will happen to me. It will happen to you. So what are the issues? Let me give you some background to this virus. And another thing Jason said, Mr. Lakhani, the Hindu public are so keen to make money, they say rather than making money, I'll risk it. Look, your money is more important than your health. Mm-hmm. If your health goes, you can't earn any more money, full stop, you come to a stop. So don't be silly and say, oh, I must have money for my family. Your money will come. Don't worry, you are safe. So don't be caught up by this money issue. How does it travel and what is this coronavirus? It's like a flu virus, but there is no medicine. That's why we are frightened, because we don't know what to do next. So how do you handle it? When does it? Just simple basic biology, I'll give you. I'm not a doctor. This particular virus is not even a living thing. It's a virus. Enters your lungs and settles down there. It loves the lungs and start eating the lungs and start growing, multiplying like weed. and destroy your lungs. And so your breathing stops, you get pneumonia and die. This is the reason why it's frightening, it's very worrying. Children and young people are less, prone to this disease. Elderly people are very prone to this disease, so we have to be extra careful. Elderly people have to be protected. Don't allow them to be exposed to this coronavirus. That's the thing. How do we stop it? Very simple. You see, the coronavirus, this is how it travels. When somebody's got the coronavirus and he sneezes or coughs, the droplets that come out from his mouth or nose will immediately, in a way, infect somebody standing in front of him. So keep away from anybody sniffing, kind of coughing or, not well. The two simple diagnostic tricks are high temperature and this coughing, dry coughing all the time. Keep away. Now the thing is, this doesn't sort you out, because this person may have gone out, coughed on top of some handrail somewhere, and walked away. This virus doesn't die. People think it will die in a few hours. It doesn't sometimes lives for days on the surface. So if you go walking in the bus and I touch it, you touch it, and it's no problem. There's nothing. And you take it, and then you have an apple, and eat it. So you see what's that done? You made sure this virus enters your mouth. The three places from where it enters your system is eyes, nose, and mouth. So very simple rule. Before you, even now, you see, when I'm coming here, I like to do this to my lips. I don't do it anymore. Dangerous. So eyes, nose. Don't pick your nose either. Eyes, nose, and mouth. Don't touch. Full stop. Don't touch. Just wash your hands. And do you know how you get rid of this? Very simple. It's magic, really, in a way. The only way you can get rid of these guys, these little pesky little chaps, is wash your hands in soap. Proper soap. Because do you know what happens? Soap is a very kind of interesting stuff. It removes there is a little kind of flame, kind of film on top of the virus, which is sticky film. Now that sticky film is the thing that allows it to get stuck to your lungs. If you wash away with simple soap and water, then that sticky film is gone. So they are useless, they topple over, they fall down, they can't attach themselves to you. So the simple soap and water will get rid of them, but the thing is, we have to be extra careful. As soon as I come in the office with Sita, we say, wash our hands first. Otherwise you might touch something outside brought the infection in the room. So just keep washing your hands when you come from outside. Wash your hands before you touch anything else in your house. Secondly, even when you're outside, don't foolishly like me touching your lips or your nose or your eyes. You're trouble. Keep away, just don't touch it. So these are the kind of simple rules to make sure that we don't get infected by this virus. But in days to come, hopefully very shortly, they'll find a vaccination, and once that happens, the stock market will shoot up, everything will shoot up again. At the moment, one good thing, Vijay, is this. Because of the coronavirus, the kind of frenzied lifestyle that we saw in this world, the world was getting more and more frenzied. It's nightclubs and going to this and pubs and bars and everybody, meeting and must meet up. All the frenzy is stopped. Nobody wants to meet anybody. Nobody wants to go to bars. Nobody wants to go to clubs. Clubs have been closed down anyway. So in a way, one good thing is calm the whole world down. It's kind of frenzied. And it's slowed down, and it's just slow down. These guys won't sit still for too long. The moment there's a virus, there is a vaccination discovered, again the whole thing will start to be double speed. But so be it.
Do you have any time?
No, I think we should finish with that. Anything else you want to say, Ed?
No. Just somebody asked a question, interesting one, which I find that people believe that when they do yagnas, you change their destiny, or at least you give them some special, bonus points. What is your view on that? So many kinds of yagnas, yes?
Very negative. You see, this is the problem. Many Hindus somehow, when they are struggling through a certain process, they say, if I can do this yagna or that yagna, there are so many different yagnas, and the pujaris will be very happy to tell them which yagnas is suitable for them. If I do it, I'll sort my problem out. The only thing such rituals will do, I'm very, very rough on this kind of issues. The only good thing it will do is, it will increase your placebo effect. Because you think you've done it, you've outgrown your problem. So it increases your confidence that you're sorting yourself out. That's called the placebo effect. That's the mind. It's playing its games. So the mind will be happy to say, yes, we are sorting it out, so we will not be affected by this, the bad influence. So that is the only positive side to some of these rituals. If you say, by doing this yagna and putting this ghee at this time and saying this mantra, somehow, my problems will go. How can tell me, what's the relationship? How does your problem go? Suppose you got a wealth problem. Just put some ghee. Do you think your wealth problem will go? You make me say, no problem, we give as much money as you like. So please think carefully about all these things. We adopted these ideas in ancient times, but that's the only way we could relate to reality. But now we have different ways of relating to reality. And the most important thing from the teaching of Vivekananda is Stand on your own feet and sort yourself out. Don't be frightened. Don't be worried about God. You sort yourself out. You are in charge of your destiny, not some planets or some gods or goddesses. You sort yourself out. You are the spirit. See, this is a powerful message that comes out of our teaching today. I think we should finish it.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you, my friends. It's been a long session, but so be it.
Thank you.